Hello, Internet. We are back, and I have to apologize if I sound a bit falkerig today. I'm on a medicine. I've got the Zika fever thing. Don't worry about it. By the time that you see here, I'm either dead or I'm okay. Because this video will probably only come out on the 31st of December, around about there. But we'll see. Besides that, things are going well. No complaints. Usual warnings. They're still building our toilet here below us, and it's a lot of noise when you're in a building site. But let's get to the man in front of me, Lieutenant Colonel Steph Naude, 32 Battalion Recce Wing, Chief of Staff Intelligence. Man, we learned a lot from this man in the previous 4 episodes. Really wonderful, wonderful. And I'm so glad that you are here, Steph. Thank you for talking to us once again. And today we're going to talk about something which I think is very, very important for us. You know, all of us suffer from what happened to us as youngsters. During that time, perhaps not so much. You know, if you, it's amazing what Johnny Walker can do for you. But as yeah, but as life goes on, you know, sadly Johnny Walker stops working, and then you have to survive. And as I said in the last episode, it was not easy for me to go back to a civilization. If you were a young sergeant in the police, unmarried, the colonel had only one guy who was going to the borders all the time. So you would go, come back, go, come back. Was a big problem because you get out of a Casper, which is a reasonably fast vehicle for an armored vehicle. But then you get into your flying squad GTI or XR6 Ford Sierra. Man, by the time you're in third gear, you're already doing 180 kilos an hour. And that road becomes like this, and you're wearing suddenly blue. You're not wearing your normal camouflage, and you're not wearing the same weapons, and you're around people. Man, it's a gemors. It really took a toll on us. It certainly did on me. But yeah, it's not about me. So I said, Steph, I said again, welcome, but you're really welcome, mate. Tell us what happened to you. It's over to you.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome to all the viewers. Well, today I want to talk about another war, and that's the war, what happened to most of us. And it's something we never thought would happen, but yes, as you know, I came back from the Angolan border, and we all withdrew. I completed almost 14 years permanent service in Angola, mainly. And then I came back, I bought a house, and then I joined the Directorate of Foreign Relations. They are the directorate inside CSI that do the placements with the military attaches. So they will have they will place our military attaches, for instance, General Rutman, who was serving in America, etc. And they will also take care of the military attaches local, who comes from the other countries. But in our directorate, as I mentioned before, we had a military support and cooperation section. Now, we were basically project officers. So we weren't what we call desk jockeys, you know, those hongkochas running around in the passages. So we were quite active because we worked with all the friendly neighboring states. For instance, I had 5 countries. Some of my colleagues had also 5, and we basically split it into West Africa and East Africa. And then I had more the Central Africa. except now for Lesotho, which was my main project. And we had a lot of combined projects. For instance, in Lesotho, I would run a clinic there. We had a clinic sister, a few doctors that served there permanently. We also had a team advisors, pilots and technicians who flew with their, I think it was CASA aircraft there. And then we also had an intelligence school there. So we supported them with all these. And some of them came here to study. For instance, nurses. We even trained pilots here. The first pilots were trained in 1992. So, yes, it was very interesting. At least I could go outside and not be permanently in the building. And also got a subsidy vehicle, which helped a lot. So in 1992, I got married. And I got married on Colonel Henny Blow's small holding. So it was quite a big occasion, and there were some generals. Later that year, September, my first daughter was born. A cute little redhead. And in that time, I realized it's no more bachelors. Now I have to take care of a family. So the time before that, I was still friends with many of the old Barnacle group. If you can remember, in the second episode, we spoke about them. But I cut my ties with Barnacle, and Barnacle became the CCB. And it was all amalgamated. A lot of the flock class guys also joined the CCB. So there was a lot of activities. And as you know, there was a lot of unrest in the whole country, all over. So I tried to focus on my projects. And it helped me a lot, to get your mind off this war thing. And at least now you're trying to cooperate. So one night I got a call from London from a guy with the name of Leon van Rensburg. Now he was at Tureki in the early or late 70s. And he was a good operator, but he also ran some businesses. And at that stage, Leon had a hotel in London. And one night, it was about 2, 3 in the morning, he called me. I'm sure it was a Tuesday or so, just the beginning of the week. And he said to me, "Steph, you've got problems." I said, "What now?" He says, "No, there's a guy, 2 guys, they staying here with me in the hotel, and they're gonna blast, they're gonna talk about the training we did in 1986. And he said to me, "Steph, if you could come here, you and I can probably solve this." That morning, well, I couldn't sleep. I prepared for office, and in the CSI building, the generals had their own parking area and also their own lift. So I waited for my general to come there, and he saw me, and I said, "General, we must talk." So we spoke even up in the lift, and he said, "Okay, let's go sit." And I said, you know, if you let me go to London, I can talk to this guy. Anyhow, nothing happened, no action was taken. So, and I also warned the general that by Friday coming, all this will be published in the Weekly Mail. Now, I always bought the Weekly Mail on Fridays because a lot of information in there. So, what actually happened there? These guys, operatives, were going to take out a very renowned person who worked at Vlakplaas. And then something went wrong. I think MI6 picked them up and they decided, no, they're going to blow, spill the beans about our operation, to blame us for training a third force or whatever. So the Weekly Mail came out and I bought 2 or 3 copies. And I went early that morning and I put it onto the general's desk and on the brigadier's desk. And they later called me. I said, well, we can solve it, but it's now too late. Anyhow, I then went to draw the file of this operation. And because I was the creator of the file, most of it, especially from the training syllabus. It was a top secret file, but then I declassified it to restrict it. And I made some copies. And the next moment, I think Harm's commission was already appointed by Evia de Klerk in 90s, but now it was sort of in 1992, and they got hold of me after this Weekly Mail publication. So they called me. I went and I predicted they wanted the file, because there were some accusations that we trained heat squads, etc. So clearly you could see in the syllabus was that our aim, and no, it wasn't, because it was purely a VIP unit where the proper VIP operatives were just better trained than the rest of the group. So yeah, I didn't hear much from them again, and I started to panic, and I had flashbacks, nightmares, and I couldn't sleep. I felt helpless and worried, and I fought against everything, and I was very, very vigilant, paranoia, and well, at some times even suicidal. I would just, drive in that car, as you explained earlier, with your GTI, and you don't care if you get killed now, that's it. And so then I started to have physical problems. My body. I lost hair here in my back, about this size. And I got blisters on my arm and even the palm. So I went to one military hospital. And I said, there's something wrong with and they just looked and they said, no, I'm just a bit stressed. And they basically said they could do nothing about me. So I thought, okay, well, I have to now take care of myself. And I started to come back to nature again, seeking for relief or help, and started to do gardening and, fishing, exercised a lot, and, it helped, but there was always this sleeplessness and stuff that I couldn't cope with. Then later, and all these sources, what I'm talking about now, Harem's, Goldstone, Stain, it's all open sources. So you can just go on Wikipedia and, search for that. And it's got a better sequence of what I'll probably explain now, but we fit it in between all these happenings with the police and the CCB. So Goldstone apparently picked up something about this VIP unit that we trained, and he was appointed by Brigadier de Klerk. Then my people who worked with us, the instructors who helped us train these people, they requested a meeting with our brigadier, our director of special tasks. Now, some of these people were already in other units. Some of them resigned, and I had to go and find them. Some had to be called up so that they just can get to the meeting. And because I was in the same building as this brigadier, I would go up a week before the meeting and just ask the brigadier secretary, is everything ready? Is the brigadier going to be here, etc., etc.? Will we have team? Must I organize what? And she said, no, fine. And I remember the day before the meeting, I even see the brigadier there. And we would sit there in the tea room and chat. So, the next morning, these guys, my instructors, came, and I invited them to my office, which was on the 11th floor. And then by the time the meeting starts, we'll go up to the 22nd floor. So when we entered there was a guy, and that wasn't the brigadier. He introduced himself as Stein or something. And we asked, where is the brigadier? He said, no. He is in charge here. And he even sat behind the brigadier's desk. So it all looked strange. And there were some other senior officers, which I know, and I know for a fact they weren't involved in this operation. So things didn't add up now. So anyhow, the next moment, as I said previously, we used pseudonyms. And this guy said, so who are you? I said, no, I'm Steph. And he says to me, don't be stupid. Don't play with me. I said, but I am Steph Naude. He says, no, what is your pseudonym? Because all the affidavits they got from witnesses were talking about Jeff and not Steph. So we all had to give our pseudonyms, and they added, okay, Steph was Jeff, and this was that, and so they could get their picture clearer. And anyhow, that was, now we didn't know what is going to happen to us. And they even said, you guys, if any of you don't cooperate, we will charge you on civil grounds. So I was the first, me and my boss. Then they asked us a lot of questions. I said, look, this and that. And I said, look, if you want the file, go to Harm's Commission and they will give you the file. Further than that, we can't tell you. We didn't deploy or operate with these people. We just trained them. And I mean, you will know in 1987, myself and most of those instructors were involved in Quito Carnival. And we were involved until about 89. We were at Saint Michel. So there's no, we weren't involved. And there's plenty of proof of that. So this got me a bit worried. And I went to see a clinical psychologist. He was right there in the Pretoria mid-city. And he also had a lot of flak blast patients. And I met some of them, the old Kufut guys, and some of the safety or security police. And this guy said to me, Steph, you're not, you're in a bad state. So he had a psychiatrist. Now remember, I already went to one military at their psychiatry ward and they couldn't help me. So my second choice was that he knew about the best psychiatrist in the country, and his name was Professor Jan Roberts. And so he made an appointment for me at with Professor Jan Roberts. But first you have to be admitted into a clinic. You know, the Astrid clinic. So we went there. But before this, I had a month or so, and I started to rewrite all my funds of my project in Lesotho and all the other countries. You know, funds that I wasn't using, I would rewrite them. And I would sit there in the Brigadier's office, and first thing is, Steph, what are you giving us today? I said, Brigadier, there's 800,000. Take it. Oh, and he's so happy because now they can open a mission in Russia and they can do this and that. I said, oh, if you want more, I'll give you more, because I was now fed up. And they wouldn't help me with all this threats from the commissions. In fact, the one senior officer, when I went there for help, his reply was, who is Goldstone? Tell Goldstone to F off. And I said, listen, you go and tell him to F off. Because you don't want to help me, then you go and tell him that. So, end of the result was I was admitted in Astrid Clinic on my birthday, 1994. And the professor came there. He looked at me and he said to me, you can be glad you're alive. And I said, what do you mean? Things are not perfect, but I'm still alive. So he went and he picked up the phone and he called General Jan, I think it's Jan Knobel. the Surgeon General. And he said to him, he says, I can still remember, he says, Jan, this is Jan. Listen, force number so-and-so, Lieutenant Colonel Steph Naude, will be medically boarded on PTSD and major depression. And obviously spoke back, and apparently Knobel told him, go report to one military at the psychiatry ward, and then we will arrange for your medical board. So I was there in the ward for about 2 weeks, and but I had a problem with this psychiatrist. He was a colonel, and first time when he was told that he will board me, he came, sat behind his desk, and he told me, you know why I became a psychiatrist? I said, no. He says, because I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And you wanted to be a soldier. So it was your choice. I said, so, but I'm here so you can take care of me. You have to treat me. He said, if you had come earlier and given me something, assaulted an ox, I would have helped you, sort of. And I stood up and I nearly grabbed this guy and I wanted to assault him. And then I said to him, listen, you make sure that you hand in my sick reports to CSI, because then I got 6 months sick leave. In this time, my wife was pregnant with our second child. And, well, to me, it was a bit, I have to worry about the family and the other stuff. And I can remember I would hear somebody on the roof, and I would tell my wife, and she would say, no, you are crazy. I don't hear anything. So I got a friend, the same Leon guy, arranged with somebody who have these surveillance detectors. If somebody does listening in, it can detect those machines. And behold, we found two, one in my lounge and the other one in the sleeping room, right where the guys were walking on the roof. So then I got quite angry, and now I know these guys are after me. So yes, if you have to take care of your family and you've got this threat, they don't care. I think you tense up much worse. And I decided I'm going to best copies. So I admitted myself to best copies, and to be honest, I had better treatment there. The medicine was better. There was a couple of crazy guys, but at least there was some of the flak class guys as well. So yes, after I was declared the state patient, and I still have my green card with me, and so I knew that if anything happened to me, I can always go back. So this was a very, very stressing time. I think my wife even wanted to leave me. Our second daughter was born also in September. And then a month or two later, when she had to go for a first month or so checkup, they were told that our medical was cancelled. But I was still serving. In fact, I just finished my sick leave. And I tried to see the commanding officer of 1 mil. You wouldn't have time for me. And then I phoned Professor Jan Roberts again. And he got onto General Knobel, and the next day everything was fine. But the other fact was also I was supposed to finish military career in September, and they didn't pay me anything. I didn't get my lump sum. They stopped my salary. So I was now with nothing. And well, I went to Angola for a bit. We started a forestry project there. And I met with, in fact, some of the partners were Angolan generals. So at least I had some income from there. But my wife was alone. We lost our house that I bought. So we just rented a small holding along the Magaliesberg. And then I think I got my pay or lump sum about 4 months later. And then another commission came about. Again, this time it was Goldstone, but Goldstone never, it was over a long period. I think from 92 till about 97, he was involved. And always he would have these special commissioners or what, like this Judge Steyn or the Steyn Commission, but it fell under him. And I got a call from this Steyn, and he told me, get your boss and get to my house in Patron. So we got there and we sat there till 3 in the morning, sorting things out, making things clear why this happened and why that didn't happen, etc. So yeah, that ghost kept on following me. At one stage there was an international investigation team. They consisted of British and Belgium and guys from Netherlands. They also phoned me, and I had to go to some hotel in Midrand. And I told my wife, and I told a friend of mine who was also involved. And when I got there, I had a mobile phone. At that stage, these phones weren't easy obtainable. And I also had a tape recorder, so I can tape. When I got there, they frisked me, and they took that off and switched my mobile phone off. So when I finished that meeting with them, it was again for hours and hours. When I got home, I could see, because you drive up to the mountain, I could see blue flashlights. And I wondered, what is happening here? I got up, and it was a police van with a whole reaction force. And I immediately ran to the front door, see if my wife and the kids are there. And they were fine. I said, but what happened? I said, when I left, somebody, the kids were playing there in the bush, and somebody with a painted face and camouflage were sitting by a tree, and they ran into this guy, and the guy said, listen, we're gonna kill you. And then they ran up, and my wife phoned my brother-in-law, who was involved in this training of this project. So then he phoned I think he was the superintendent of the special investigation team. I know his second in command was Superintendent Naude. But this guy was somewhere in the airport in Heathrow or somewhere, and Andre got hold of him, and then they sent this reaction force from the police. And because there were about 6 guys with R4s and body armor, and they were just walking patrols around the house. So I couldn't sleep. Now I'm even more stressed up, and they asked me if I wanted to go under a witness protection program. I said, no, I'm not giving up my identity to please you. So what I want is for you to F off and leave me alone. So that's what I want. Well, it was fine for a while. Then at one stage I was visiting my parents in Rustenburg, and my sister and everyone was there, but their house was, there was 2 streets where you can enter. So I came from the back. There was a small little stream there, and I parked my vehicle there. Went in, met with them, and after 2-3 hours I came back, and there's another police van, lights flashing, and the one police officer, I think he was a warrant, was inside. He broke into my vehicle, and he took my ID from the car, and he was on the phone speaking to somebody. And I came there, and my fist was ready, and I said, what the hell are you doing? And I was going to assault this guy, and the next moment he says to this guy on the phone, Inspector, or super, he's going to moor me. He gave the phone to me, and I said, yes, who's speaking? He says, Colonel, please, this is Colonel Naude. Please, we are worried about you. I said, listen, Naude, leave me alone. I'm going to kill you people because you are after me all the time. So they left me then for quite a while. I then went to Angola. I worked there for another 6 years. And I also formed for the chief of the army, and his brother, he was the chief of special forces. And of course, it helped me a lot, especially in the 94, 95. I got back to the old milieu of the border, Angola, where I've been so many years, where I can speak to people. You are on the ground. You are used to that environment. So yes, I had a good time. They gave me not not too bad, but I think 2 or 3 thousand US dollars a month, but it was okay. And then in by the end of 2000, I left for a stint in Uganda, and after that, I went to Iran. We did some battlefield clearance there for about 18 months or 2 years. And in 2005, I went to Iraq with these private security companies or military companies. We did some low profile VIP protection, etc. But it was, again, for me, that was like working in a jail. You sit there in a jail, you can't get out. The only time you get out is when, you know, when there's a threat, or when you know you might get bombed or ambushed or whatever. And then in 2000 and end of 2005, I got the offer to work in Sudan for mine clearance. So I went there, and I think I was almost 7 years in Sudan. And to be honest, I I think I got over the PTSD and the major depression, and it was all coming back to what the Colonel Breitenbach told me is, when he said to me the day he left on pension, he said, only you can take care of yourself, and only you can trust yourself. So that helped me a lot. You know, for the rest, the history, it's done, it's happened, and you know, I actually didn't have a future in the army. I think promotion after all these commissions was out of the question. So, and then I realized, you know, all the units I served in, 3-2 Battalion, the Recce Wing, and CSI, the Special Task, they were all disbanded. So that's it. It's over. So here I am now, and I'll probably go early next year to Angola again. We're going to visit Sabati, and they will erect a monument there for us, and we will have a combined military parade with all the ex-veterans who survived that battle. So yes, I'm looking forward, and I'll probably, I wouldn't say but if there's anybody interested in helping me with a book, yes, I would appreciate, but you know, I'll try and put everything together. So that's it from my side. Thank you, Chris.
You know, it's a funny thing because we broadcasted your first 2 episodes on the patrons, and quite a few of them said, "Where's the book? Where's the book?" And all like, "Yeah, we want the book." And I've written many dozens of books. It's not difficult. It's not hard to write a book.
I can't write.
Yeah, there's other ways of doing it. Same what we did with SW4E, you know, we basically took his videos and we gave it to a secretary type, and she typed it for us, and there's your draft. And from there on, you just fill it in. But how old were you when these things started happening, when you realized that there's no future in the army anymore and you're going to get boarded now? What was your age then, in your 50s?
33. And I think I left when I was 35.
Yeah, it's amazing how young the army officers were, by the age of 30, 35, some were lieutenant colonels. It's amazing. In the police, it was totally different. You could not become an officer very quickly. A different system. I want to say to you people listening here, guys, it's not a cowardly thing to admit if you have a problem, right? It's not a cowardly thing. It's a cowardly thing to to refuse to admit you have a problem. Because when you're hiding behind something and we can't help you. And remember, if you have any problems like this where you feel you can't cope anymore, we can refer you to people like Frans van Staden, the former 3 Battalion company commander, the psychologist. He will help you. Even if you can't pay him, he will help you. So don't let people say to you, you're insane, you're crazy, whatever. Just shut up. Don't let that happen to you. The fact of the matter is, Steph, you guys didn't train any hit squads. You didn't train the third force. I asked those questions specifically when we had that episode. I said to you, from the training regime you had, were these people saboteurs or assassins? And the answer was no, they were not. And that is why nothing happened further. But let me tell you what is called lawfare these days. It's a new word in America, but it's been happening for a long, long time. And basically what happens is they start throwing a book at you. And then you have to pat this charge off. Then they throw the next one and you have to pat it off. Look at what happened to Wouter Bosson. They just never end. So what they do is they abuse the state uh, resources, which is unlimited. And they just come after you, come after you, come after you. And you have to bat them off. Yes, and they're trying actually to get you to crack up to kill yourself. Or they try to break you financially. Because for you to see an attorney costs money. Guys, seriously, this is not legacy things. If you see an attorney today and he will bring in an advocate or a barrister, as they are called also, you're talking about 50 to 100,000 rands a day in court. And no one has that kind of money. So I have to ask you, when these questions came up at the different commissions of inquiry, and perhaps I should just say to the people who is not aware of the South African legal system, a high court judge, in the old days, my days, Supreme Court judge, high court judge, is a very, very important person. Extremely well respected. And up to about 10, 15 years ago, not one of them has ever been fired for corruption or being unable to do his job or whatever, and they don't even retire. That's the other thing. They can carry on for a long time, and the system trusts them to know when they are so senile that they actually have to get retired. So when a commission of inquiry is established by the president, it is a damn serious matter. I can't tell you how serious this is. They've got lots of funding. They've got detectives. They've got other attorneys assisting them. They will get to the bottom of most things. And you cannot tell them to F off. Because I guarantee you the law will come back at you. It will come back at you. There's ways and means to make you talk. So, whoever, Army, did they ever offer you any type of legal assistance?
No, Quiz. In fact, when I got my pension, we realized that, it wasn't even 2,000. You can't even pay rent with that. And then I went to see a attorney, Wim Cornelis. I think he's the one with that Wit Wolf case or something. And because PTSD is a professional illness, and then we made a case against the army. We started in 95, and the deal was we would pay them just, whenever it's possible. Some guys, they worked for executive outcome, so, they could pay up front and whatever. But I think in the end, when we won the case after 5 years, and I'm talking in 1999, end of the century, then I think just before Christmas, I got my lump sum, and I also got a better pension then. But the army they were very, very annoyed. You know, they were in fact insulted because I was sort of the first senior officer that got medically boarded on PTSD and major depression. So I think they hated me for that, and I took them to court. So to me, it was a bit of justice.
Yeah, I know quite a few attorneys were retired on those commissions of inquiry, especially the DRC as well. They were making so many millions, you can't believe it. And those things goes on for years. So the guys are sitting there for years. They can even sit and play Scrabble or whatever. They just have to be there. It's not that they really work. I mean, by the way, I was involved with Wolf. I was in the flying squad then. I can tell you people actually what happened there in a different episode. It's not what you read in the newspapers. This Witwell was extremely lucky not to die that day. Quite a few things happened. I think what saved him is he had the police camo jacket on. And a lot of people were actually thinking he was a policeman, and of course he was. He was actually a good policeman before that incident happened. I mean, it's sadly so. How did this affect your marriage and your relationship with your kids and so?
Well, certainly, yes, it did affect my marriage, especially when I was amidst in all this commissions and stuff. So, yeah, after the second year, it almost fell apart. And that's another reason why I left to Westkoppies, because everyone said to me I'm an alcoholic and I must go for rehabilitation. And I said, okay, fine, then I'll go. And for 6 months, there was no alcohol, no change in my, in my attitude or my behavior. But yes, Westkoppies in that matter also did me quite a lot of, good, and I could go there anytime. So after, I think 2003, I got divorced. But yes, it was an amicable divorce, and we still chat to each other, every now and then when the grandkids have their birthdays, we will get together. So, there's nothing, no anger or negative things, but it was just the way it was. And, I see many other people who also now get divorced after 30, 40 years of marriage. Just, I don't know for what, but, if you could keep up for that long, why do you get divorced then? To me, it was different because it was my situation. And, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, I want to say to you people, listen carefully to what I say to you today, and I'm sure that Steph will agree with me. It is not normal for you to want to kill yourself, right? That is not what God wanted for you. It's not normal. Don't try to rationalize it by saying to me, Chris, it's better for the family, man. All this trouble will go away. The policies will pay out. My wife will have money. I'm just a burden to them. Guys, that's not true. That's from the devil. That is Satan talking. Don't do that. As I said to you, come out of come out of that mood which you are in. If you start thinking like that, guys, contact me immediately. I will put you into contact with people who can assist you, or go to West Copies, or do what you want. But that is never the answer, because I've attended funerals of former colleagues who did that, who used their firearms to themselves. It did not spare any tears for the family, let me tell you that. They actually they were not better off. I mean, at the end of the day, you're their family. That's why they love you, you know? Do you agree with what I just said, Steph? I mean, you're talking now out of experience here.
Certainly, yes.
If you're looking back now, I know that I felt betrayed by the police generals, and I actually said so in my books. I said in my Main Streets Police books, I said they were running for bloody pensions and they were leaving us with that to do the work all alone to face all of these nonsense. And it was by the grace of God that I did not get involved with these things, because I was recruited to Flak Plaas, but I never went because my ex-brother, we don't like each other. He was then doing his national service as an advocate. He was already an advocate in the police security branch. And when they came to me with this offer of die eenheid opspoor en uitwis van terrorisme, that's a wonderful way of putting something like that to me. And I thought it was a damn good idea, actually. I liked this idea, because in the police we often had this problem of, we know where the terrorist is. We know who's a sympathizer. We do know he's going to plant a bomb or whatever. Sometimes we would even, so I've heard, infiltrate some booby-trapped explosives to him. That's what I think happened in 1988 with the Sterland bomb. And then you start thinking to yourself, well, for the better of all, isn't it perhaps a good thing if this guy gets a little accident, you know? It's like one of a final kind of accidents, if you understand what I mean. So I went and I spoke to my father, who was a very senior regional magistrate at that stage, and he was not an easy man. Brilliant legal scholar, but very straightforward. The man had no gray areas. It was like black and white. And this is also in those books which I wrote. And you'll find out something, Steph, and all of you. Once you write that book, it's very much like the legacy episodes. You feel a burden come off you. I could only get rid of the police, the SAP, out of me after I wrote the books. Then, of course, I wrote the books of the shadow world, and I got rid of that out of my system as well. It's therapeutic. But my dad, for once, became extremely serious, and he said to me, Chris, who decides who died? Who's the ones who's going to decide that? And I said, I don't know, probably the colonel. He says, no, the colonel doesn't have that authority. It's someone above the colonel. You people are being set off. And he says the other thing is, when you join the police, and I'm sure when you join the army, you take an oath. And your oath did not include to go and murder people. Go and get the damn evidence, arrest the people, bring them to us to the courts. We will deal with that. And so when I found myself afterwards, I became an attorney, and I found myself now, I'm at the most famous human rights law firm in Africa. Where from Nelson Mandela to everybody's our clients. And guess what? PRC as well. And I'm reading all these files. And people know I was a policeman, you know, so they're asking me for advice. And it was quite a story. Because they were truth on both sides, to be honest. It was a dirty war. But it was not a war which was started by us, not by our generation. This was started a long time before we came onto the scene. I see you're nodding your Steph. Do you agree? This is we were born into this.
Correct, Chris. And let me just want to reiterate the fact that, yes, in 1975, there was a threat, and, you know, we had to go in, and yes, you can debate it either side, but I must tell you, I think we were betrayed, not only by our military, certain military leaders, but also by our politicians. But I want to tell you another thing. While I was in Angola, With the two generals, almost every weekend, I would see the chief of the Angolan Defense Force, General Matus. And with him would also come the Secretary General of the NPLA, a guy by the name of Lopo de Nascimento. He's sort of like an Indian, from an Indian background. And he spoke very nice English. And he one day came to me and he said, Steph, you know what, this and that. And they just started to get involved with the South Africans. I know there was a game park across from the farm on the southern side of the Konza River, and they wanted to fence this and reintroduce elephant there. And he asked me, Steph, now I studied agriculture, but he asked me, Steve, what can we do about the wildlife in Angola? I said, Secretary General, stop the war. Stop the war and all the wildlife will come back. And he said, you know, you are true. You are speaking the truth. And then he said to me, Steph, we should never have made war against you. If MPLA joined with the South Africans, this whole region would have been much more developed. It would have been a power, you know, a regional power. And yes, I believe so.
Yes, I will leave that question open to all of you watching. For myself, I do feel we were betrayed. I'm not saying the changes were wrong. I'm not saying the changes shouldn't have happened. I'm not defending apartheid, but I'm telling you people that the way the men on the ground were left to fend for themselves, I'm even thinking of Eugene de Kock and other people like that, is to me pathetic. I really think, as far as I know, at the TRC, there were only one police general who actually stood up. I'm not going to mention his name here because he's still alive. And he was a tough bastard, let me tell you. He was a really nasty person. I once almost arrested him for interfering with my duties. It's a long story. But he stood up and he said, I gave you orders. The buck stops with me. And I bloody well expected people like Evie de Klerk to say the same. Not in a political way, like, oh my God, you know, I'm actually or going to watch the damn video or whatever they did. I feel betrayed. There is anger in me about this. But it doesn't help us to even go after them, you know. They did what they had to do. They were not as tough as they sound. They broke so easily. They ran away. And this is not a political show. I'm saying these things to you because I know you people have the same feelings as what Steph and myself are feeling. A lot of you still feel angry about it. A lot of you will say to me, Chris, I'm not even feeling welcome in my own country anymore. It has changed so much. I don't recognize the streets. Everything has been turned upside down. And there was a great feeling of being lost. And I hope that in a small way with the legacy program, when we talk about the glory days, can help you and assist you in your journey. And I want to say for the third time now, guys, it's serious. If you have a problem, and you know in your heart you have a problem, don't lie to anybody. I think Colonel Jan meant that too. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest to yourself. If you have a problem, guys, it's not a shameful thing to go and ask for assistance. Can I ask you, Steph, can you give us a few final words of advice here? Perhaps also to the wives who might know that, well, there's something wrong with their husband. I know Rebecca often wakes me up at night, and you know, it's a funny thing when I start dating somebody and get serious and we're heading towards marriage, I always say to her, be careful of me when I sleep. If you poke me in the ribs without reason, I might come up swinging, man. Or I might go into a mode where I actually become no danger to you until I realize where I am. And sometimes I wake up and I don't know who I am. I don't even know where I am. And then I have to seriously just, start thinking, okay, Chris, this is your name. These are your dad. This is your mom. This is your legend. This is actually the truth. It's not a legend anymore. You're like this and this. So we all have these problems. So I'm asking you, do you have any advice to anybody listening here, to the family, the wife, besides the veterans?
I just want to reiterate what the Colonel learned to me, that take care of yourself and only trust yourself. But if you look at yourself, you also have your family, and that is your heart. So, support each other. Sometimes it's a bit difficult, but nothing can't be solved in this world. It's always just a matter of attitude and how you deal with it. For instance, if you meet your other half, the first time it's love at first sight, and then it's getting better, and oh, you are so nice, and then so don't pretend, after the marriage, don't make things worse. You have to stick together, and that makes a family. And if you look at like a person, an individual, the basic foundation is your security. And with a family, the same. You have to have that base, that foundation of security.
Thank you. Thank you, Steph. I really appreciate what the words you said. I hope people take this to heart. I must tell you, all you veterans, I always pray for you. Every night I pray for you. I believe there are certain things which only God can heal, as well as time. But anger is not going to help you healing. You've got to get rid of your anger. And I don't mean go and kick up your wife or something, kick a boom or something if you want to get rid of your anger. Or just keep busy, guys. It's a fact, actually. If you keep busy, if you keep running, or you go cycling, or you do some physical exercise, you also, you get rid of anger issues in you. It really works. I see Steph is nodding again here. Steph, do you think you should go running or something?
Rather with a motorcycle or something more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, Rebecca wants to buy 2 of these scooters here. The traffic is so bad in Thailand that, I don't know. But then, of course, scooters can be quite dangerous, especially as you're as big as I am. But that is it, guys. Let me tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed speaking these 5 episodes with Colonel Steph Naude. I really hope he will come back to answer a few questions. I'm sure he will. And again, let me say again to you, you're not alone. Come and tell your story to us. Come and speak to us. You will feel better afterwards. There's like a burden which comes out of you. And if you need help, there is help available out there. There's help available. And it's not a shameful thing to ask. I know I keep on repeating myself because for many, many years I was too proud. And then I was too poor. And then it was too late because I sort of killed myself with a help and assistance from above. But I do know that we people are not the same as other people. I do know that we think different, we react different. But what we are is not a bad thing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. We have a lot to be proud about. And there's a lot of pride in you as well. So until we meet again, God bless you all and keep safe.
Thank you, Chris.